Yeah, we're going to film a video. So I was stumbling around the internet and I found this article, and I'll leave it in the description below because I found it super interesting. The article is written about Englishisms and how they're making their way into the Dutch language, and how there's a massive group of people that are kind of all for the evolution of the Dutch language and very into adopting all of these Englishisms. And then the other end of the spectrum where you have these taalpuristen that are very focused on the preservation of the Dutch language and want to implement a strategy like Italy did in the 1930s and what French do, where they create an entirely new word in their own language to make up for the English word that's been invented. So at first I wasn't aware of this, but in 2014, there was a competition basically where Dutch people could vote on their favorite English word that's been adopted into the Dutch language. When I first read this, I found it super strange because I can't think of a single example where that happens in the English language, where we have a vote on what the best foreign word is that we use. People could vote on words like YOLO, casual, brunch, comfort zone, downloader. So all of these adaptations of English words that we have started using. The winner for that year was awkward, and I haven't since been able to find the ongoing competition. I think it maybe only ran in 2014, but a really strange concept where you have a system that's set up to celebrate the adoption of foreign words. Now, borrowing words and grammar structures and whatever it is from other languages isn't in itself inherently bad. As an English speaker, that's literally how our entire language was built. So that's probably not a massive issue in itself. I even found a massive list, and I'll link it below, of English words that have actually stemmed from Dutch words. And these are words that I've been using my whole life, and I had no idea that they actually stemmed from Dutch words. With the influence of social media and software, the internet, computers, all of these things have attributed to Englishisms making their way into everyday life. We've been more connected and more influenced by cultures that we used to have nothing to do with, and computer programs that are brought out in only major languages and not usually translated to Dutch. Forces people into a position where they have to adapt and learn these English words and their meanings. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, there are two sort of main groups that are dominating this environment, this discussion. You've got people that are all for it and are very much, this is the natural progression of languages and there is no other real way, that can kind of see how real it is that the Dutch language is disappearing and within 2 generations could be gone. That might be kind of extreme, but then you've got the other group of people that very much believe that and are very much active in fighting against it. So Stichting Nederlands is a website and a group of people that are taalpurists and are very much active in creating a system where that doesn't happen. Now on this list here that Dirk van Jos has written, and a part of this article that I've read, there's 2,100 words that are originally English that are being adopted by the Dutch language. That's a massive amount of words. And when you're talking in terms of like language learning, 3,000 words gives you the ability to have everyday basic conversations. So technically as an English speaker, I could recognize all of these words that are used in the Dutch language and have a conversation. We know that's not true, but it is interesting to see how much of an impact this may have had on how quickly I was able to pick up the language. If everyday people are using these words, then I was able to kind of understand what was going on from a very early stage. I've talked a lot about how English and Dutch are two very similar languages. There's a lot of crossover, there's a lot of borrowed things, there's a lot of similarities between the two languages, and I think that that is the single reason why I've been able to study the language and pick it up so quickly. I also lived in the country, but my native tongue is English, and the two languages have a lot to do with each other. I've made videos on the grammar similarities. I've made videos on why you should learn Dutch, and I've made videos on things I wish I knew before I started learning Dutch. But lately I've been thinking about how maybe these similarities aren't so much to do with their Germanic roots and their Germanic ties, but more to do with the present and how Englishisms are starting to make their way into lots of different languages, and how Dutch is really probably not combating that very well. So I wanted to make a video about a general discussion of how I think English is kind of taking over aspects of the Dutch language, and I want to hear what you guys think about that as people that speak Dutch and understand English as well. I was talking with my father-in-law the other night, and he is above the age of 60, so he grew up in an era where being a Dutch person, you learnt French, you learnt German at school, you learnt a tiny little bit of English, and he also grew up in Friesland, so he speaks Fries. Out of all of these languages, English is not his best language. So the other night at his workplace, he was in a meeting, which is vergadering in Dutch, but people usually use the word meeting. And he said that within the presentation, there were a lot of English words being used. And his question was, why? Why not use a perfectly good Dutch word that probably most of the staff understand because they're all Dutch speakers from a specific age group? And yet words like flow and all of these Englishisms were being adopted to explain the presentation when there are very much Dutch equivalents of these words. For example, the word administratie, which I learned to mean administration, which kind of follows the pattern of a lot of other Shun words, is actually not the word for administration. Administration is regering. I never knew this. The Prime Minister even uses the word administratie. So when you see public figures also adopting these Englishisms, do you think that that then influences how the rest of the population sees the language being used? Now, I don't have the answer. I am an English speaker. I have learnt Dutch, but I use a lot of English words in between. I don't know all the Dutch words that there are to know. But I want to know what you guys think. Is this a normal progression? Should we be kind of adopting it as easily as we are? Or should we be joining Stichting Nederlands and getting on the bandwagon and helping preserve the Dutch language? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this topic, so please leave a comment below. I want to see what the general consensus is as Dutch speakers that understand English. I want to hear what you guys think. And if there are any people learning Dutch, do you find it easier as an English speaker? Do you think that gives us an advantage when it comes to learning Dutch because so many of our words are used within the language? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this topic interesting, give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.